Well, ladies and gentlemen, the time is finally here. The PlayStation Plus Premium service launched today in the US, and I said I would take a look at it at some point in a video, and I figured I was going to go through it here kind of for the first time. I glanced through some of the games, and a lot of what I expected to be here is here, but there is like a surprise or two in here that I want to talk about, as well as some new information that's come out that makes the classic games much more compelling to me. So we'll take a look here, kind of a casual glance through the game catalog and the benefits that they have for the premium tier. So if you guys enjoy the video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to the Spawnwave Plus channel. I'm also going to cover basically the cliff notes in Newswave tomorrow, so make sure you check that out tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern. Now, looking here, we have the game catalog, the classic games, game trials, and the cloud streaming. Now, the cloud streaming is mostly going to be PlayStation 3 games, and I understand that it's going to be frustrating to play for anything that's faster paced. Even like God of War Ascension, it's going to be tough. Anything where you aim, like Resident Evil 4, also tough. Games where I think you'll be okay, it's mostly slower paced RPGs as an example. Racing games like MotorStorm Apocalypse, I found, are like the worst next to fighting games when it comes to streaming. So I just wanted to sort of get that out of the way. The catalog here for PS3 titles isn't bad. It's just unfortunate that they're not native experiences. Hopefully Sony is able to figure that out in the future, as there are rumors that they are at least looking into it. Now, the part that obviously people are very curious about, because it is the main draw for the premium service, are the classic games. And if we take a quick look through the classic games, some of these we've already had in PlayStation Now, like Dark Cloud 2 as an example. That was in PlayStation Now. But then you see some of the games like Jak and Daxter. They've had that on the PlayStation Store, but I don't believe it was in PlayStation Now, so they at least added it. But like Wild Arms 3, that was already there. In fact, I've already downloaded that one. But the big thing that people have noticed is that there is an additional PS1 game here, the big one being Resident Evil Director's Cut. Yeah, I was a little surprised to see this pop up, but otherwise, things like Wild Arms, Siphon Filter, Ape Escape, these are all really cool games to have in the collection here, at least to get started. And then I'm curious where they take this entire thing, because it's been revealed that these are indeed 60 hertz versions of the game. If you remember, when it launched at the end of last month in parts of Asia, it was discovered that they are using the 50 hertz versions of the game, which is unfortunate because with how TVs are now, you'd want 60 hertz at least, and 50 hertz would be kind of juddery, and it wouldn't be the best experience overall. I went ahead and downloaded a couple of games here for the PS1, mostly because I wanted to see how they would look. I've already kind of gone over some of the PS2 to PS4 conversions in the past. The PS1 stuff is essentially what's really new here for this higher tier. So we'll at least launch into Ape Escape, maybe Resident Evil Director's Cut, because that is new for North America. Looking at the game catalog, however, this is part of the PlayStation Plus Extras tier. So we have Essential, Extras, Premium. If you pay for Extras, you'll have access to all of these titles here. And I'm looking through this now. There's some pretty good value here if you were to, say, buy a PS5 today and you didn't have like a library of games to play. Maybe you even stepped away from gaming for a little while and you come back for that system. I mean, if you sign up for the extra tier, there's a lot of stuff you can just kind of download and check out, like Spider-Man. Yes, it's the PS4 version, but still, it's a good game, obviously. Returnal is there, which is relatively new if you consider Sony's approach to like subscription services and being less willing to just throw games in there day one. It's kind of close. And then God of War, fantastic game. Horizon Zero Dawn, Death Stranding Director's Cut, Bloodborne, Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition, Days Gone, Batman Arkham Knight, Shadow of the Colossus. There's some good stuff here. Infamous Second Son. We need a new Infamous game, actually, so someone needs to get on that. Sucker Punch. And there's Hollow Knight, which we just had the Silk Song re-reveal yesterday in the Xbox showcase, so good chance to jump into Hollow Knight and see what that's all about, which very good game. Shadow Warrior 3 got added to PlayStation Now day one, and now they just kind of moved it over into this new service. I mean, I'm looking down the list here, and this is pretty good overall. Oh, I noticed Ys 9 and Ys 8 are both here. So we saw the list come out for Japan, and they had a bunch of like JRPGs, which included these Ys titles. It's great to see them included in this service. I highly recommend either one. Ys 9, Ys 8. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. Even Gravity Rush 2 being here, it's just good to see like the PlayStation Japan studios. While they're not around anymore. They were closed down and merged into Team Asobi. I mean, it's still good to see some of those legacy titles. Disaster Report 4. I've looked at the Disaster Report games, like some of the more recent ones, here and there when they pop up online, and I never actually like bought into it. So I mean, here it is on the PlayStation Extras tier. You just kind of hit this and go to download. So it's pretty straightforward. Otherwise, it'd be like a $6 game. That's what I mean when I said I wasn't like going all in on Disaster Report, because I wasn't sure if I would actually be playing it like that. But you have these kind of services. You can hit a button, download it. It's off and running now. Any of the ones that have like a PS5 and PS4 version, I noticed they'll ask you if you want the PS5 or the PS4 version up front, because otherwise, if you look at, I know the classic games in particular, they display a file size that is actually twice the file size of what you would download, because they add the PS4 and the PS5 version together. So if you look at the classic game and it says 800 megabytes, really it's probably 400 megabytes, because you're only going to download it for either the PS5 or the PS4. I mean, they have some obscure stuff thrown into this PlayStation. Oh, look, Zombies there. I have not played this game since the Wii U. Wow, that is I'm actually download this one. I did not expect to see Zombie in here. Anyway, while those are downloading, let's check out game trials. They gave us a list already of some of the trials we would have, but I think they added a few extra here for North America, as there's like Lego City Undercover, which is very random to see that one just pop up. I mean, that's been on sale several times for like $8 or $9 as it is, but like Ollie Ollie World, that's kind of cool to see a trial for that one. Hot Wheels Unleashed, a good game, but people may have kind of walked past it, not even think to try it out, but here it is now in the trial. You know, I am curious, if you go in here, do you then have to download like the entire game? Let's see. For example, Tiny Tina's Wonderland, I know that's a big game. So you would download the trial. Let's see how much space you need for the trial itself, because the trial is supposed to be basically a time limit on the game itself. So I assume you need the entire download to do the trial. It seems to be stuck right now, so I'll kind of let that do its thing and come back to it. Why don't we check out some of the classic games that I downloaded? I jumped into Ape Escape to start. They have some of the controls here where you have start and select on that center touchpad, depending on if you hit the left or the right side. I'm curious about the filters and any of the extra settings, like rewind, for an example, with this game, and then how it looks here on the TV in front of me. The PS1 games are known clearly to not be the highest resolution or that friendly with newer displays that we have now, to where they can look pretty pixelated. Wow, it has been a long time since I've played Ape Escape. I'm trying to think of when that would have been. It definitely wasn't when it first came out. Like, it wasn't that long ago, but oh, there's a trophy that popped. See, that, again, that's a nice thing to have, the trophies. I know not everyone's a trophy, like a big trophy hunter or anything, but I think it's really cool that they took the time to add them for that functionality. And it really has been a long time since I've played this game. It looks a lot better, though. I will at least give them credit on that one. In terms of it being on, like, a bigger screen here. This is what is this, a 55? This is a 55-inch screen. It looks better. Like, you can only do so much with the visuals, right? Because you're still technically running it through an emulator and doing your best to smooth it out. It's running well. It doesn't feel disgusting like 50 hertz would. So I have to imagine they got that figured out for North America specifically, which is great to hear, because I was very concerned that we would go down that road. But now that they seem to have that figured out, I'm just trying to think of the different possibilities for original PlayStation and what they could bring over with trophy support. While it's optional, I think if we had a big release like a Metal Gear Solid, that they would take the time to add trophies. So that's, I mean, that's exciting just thinking what they could do with it. We can look at visual presets, okay, there we go. You can do retro classic, we can do modern. Let's look at retro classic. What does that do? Oh, it tries to make it look like a CRT. That's the idea. Okay. I mean, it does its best to do so, where it kind of has like that scanline filter effect. So here's rewind. You kind of go between frames. It has I feel like it just essentially keeps mashing save state as you're playing and just keeps holding on to different frames and save spots. So in this case, I can rewind all the way back here. There we are. It does jump you in. I would like a little animation. I think that'd be fun if it did a VHS effect and just kind of rewinded you back. But again, I think it's just saving like states as you're running through, so it's probably not gonna do the entire like run all the way back through every single frame. I went to native resolution, and we'll take a look. I mean, yeah, that would be the little native resolution for the original PlayStation. It's hard to believe still that we used to play this version in particular, tiny little square on a CRT, blown up a bit depending on the size of your screen, but times have changed. We can look through the trophies a little bit here too for Ape Escape. They have no ape can escape. Collect all other ape trophies. We have Rookie Catcher, which I did. Established Capture. So they went through, I mean, they're not the most elaborate trophies. There's 17 of them, but technically, yes, you can platinum this original PlayStation game released back in the 90s on the PS5. Taking a look at Resident Evil, I see the Capcom logo here. I better see it again when they bring the Mega Man games to the PlayStation Classics category, specifically Mega Man Legends. Thank you. I'm actually a little surprised that we had Resident Evil added in just randomly. Like, they didn't mention it ahead of time. It's just like, hey, here's Resident Evil, which it's cool. It's the director's cut too, right? To have that thrown in there. I'm curious what the backgrounds look like, because that was the big deal when Resident Evil came out, was like the pre-rendered backgrounds, and that was really big during the PS1 era. I mean, the character models definitely look smoothed out here. Oh, I mean, it's going to control like Resident Evil, but you know, this doesn't look too bad. Oh, I can feel those tank controls already. Look at the way they're turning and everything. Oh, this is going to be a trip. I mean, this is what it's playing up to anyway, is like the nostalgia factor, right? Because the way this controls now is so funny. And that's what I thought about. I had talked to a few people about this actually, is I think we remember some of these games very fondly, and then we're going to go back and play them as adults, you know, like 15, 20 years later or something, and it's gonna be like, ooh, and they may not age the best when we're hanging out, trying out these games. I think Siphon Filter is gonna be the one that maybe surprises a lot of people, because it just does not control great now compared to, obviously, modern titles. But like the tank controls are just so funny, because you press up and that goes in your character's direction, you press down and it goes backwards from the way your character's facing. It's you play this game and you're like, wow, they definitely made the right move when they moved to something like Resident Evil 4. But I guess there is some charm going back to the original tank controls still to this day. Oh, there's like the FMV cutscenes. Again, big deal back then. Big deal. You can tell it's still like a low resolution for it, blown up. Also, here's an interesting thing with Resident Evil. I'm noticing there's no trophies, at least from what I'm seeing right here. Let me see if I go to view product. I wonder if it mentions trophy support here. Wow. Okay. So I don't think there's trophy support for this one. And that is something that was mentioned, is trophies are optional. And I guess, at least from what I'm seeing right now, they don't have that supported in this Resident Evil director's cut. So unfortunately, it's kind of hit or miss if there's a game that gets added that you're really excited about, if it will have that big platinum trophy at the end. Real fast, I had to fire up Wild Arms. That title screen music, I mean, it just takes me back. It's been, a long time since I played Wild Arms, but this was an absolute classic from the original PlayStation, an awesome JRPG. And I'm hoping more people get a chance to try this one out. They also have, like, Wild Arms 3, of course, on here for the PS2. That was a game that they technically ported, I guess, to the PS4 as part of their classics that they had done then. It was already on PlayStation Now. But to get the original with the trophy support is really, really cool. I don't think you're going to need rewind necessarily as much, although I guess if you make a bad choice when you're in a battle, that's something. But for the most part, this is a game that I'm hoping more people are able to try out now because it's part of this classics collection. So you'll notice the visual style here. This is a game that came out, I think, right at the end of 96 in Japan. I know it didn't come to the US immediately. It took months, I think, for it to get here. But I mean, if you think about it, this came out when there were still Super Famicom games releasing. So it does still kind of have that look where it could almost be a Super Nintendo game, but not quite, just based on some of the effects and few visual styles they have here with the game. But it certainly has that charm of like the mid-90s JRPG. And it's a game that'll take you some time to play through. I think the main playthrough is like 30 hours or so, and you could get like 50 hours plus if you want to do everything. So I think in terms of value for the JRPG side, and if you want to take a look back at maybe the old days for the PS1, and this is certainly one to download. So I am thoroughly excited to see this here. I'm a little curious when it comes to the trophy list for it as well. So it looks like they have 38 trophies for Wild Arms. This isn't one that they would have phoned in then, where they have like 6 or 7 trophies or something. This actually looks pretty good. Oh yeah, they have the Smash Arm in there. Or the Hope Rune. These are things that are like tied to the story as you go through. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Anyway, that's just a quick look at the PlayStation Plus Premium tier now that it is released in the US. If you were signed up for PlayStation Now or PlayStation Plus, those, you should have already just been moved into this service. Otherwise, you can go on your PlayStation and decide if you want to upgrade. If you're already part of the Essentials, I think they prorate you up depending on which one you'd want to get. I think right now, however, PlayStation Plus Extras tier, that's the middle tier that has access to the collection of games that are more current, not the classic collection or the game trials. I think that extra tier is probably the best value currently, only because it has access to quite a few newer titles. I mean, Miles Morales, Demon's Souls, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Ghost of Tsushima, Director's Cut, all of these titles are in here, so you can just sign up and start playing these games immediately for, what is it, like $40 more than what PlayStation Plus would normally cost. I think it'll be worth, or I'm hoping it'll be worth the upgrade to Premium down the road as they build out that classic collection, but in its current form with what you see here, I don't know if it's worth saying you absolutely need to jump to Premium from PlayStation Plus Essential even, because that doubles up the price. But certainly keep an eye on this, because you'll see random PS2 games get in here. I feel like Sony should be pressed more to do so, and I have to assume they are. But you see Red Faction. Like, that's kind of cool to have Red Faction, go in there as a game for the PlayStation Plus Premium tier, right, with the classic game. So as this section builds out from the PSP, the PlayStation, and PS2, I'm hoping it'll be easier to recommend this side, especially if they can get some of the absolute classic titles in here with trophy support. But let me know what you guys think about the PlayStation Plus Essential, the Extra, or Premium tier, especially if you've had a chance to go through them. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.